friends. I'm your host, Erin Port, and welcome to the Simple Purposeful Living podcast. Life can be overwhelming and busy, so once a week, I invite you to join me, and together we will make simple tweaks to uncomplicate the hard parts of our life so we can spend more time doing what we love. Happy almost New Year. January is just around the corner, and I don't know how you're feeling as we greet a new year. Maybe you're excited, fresh blank page, a new chapter to be written, or maybe you're feeling heavy, like you're supposed to reinvent yourself and you're tired before you even start. But I want you to hear this right away. There's nothing wrong with you. You have a beautiful, messy, crazy life right now, and nobody has it all figured out. If New Year's resolutions haven't worked for you in the past, or maybe they have, but for many of us they haven't, it's not because you lack discipline or motivation. It's not because you're lazy or you can't follow through or you just can't get your life together. Resolutions have failed you, not the other way around. And today we're going to do something different as we go into the new year. We're going to ask ourselves 4 questions that I hope you would help you approach the new year with a little more grace, a little more honesty, and that actually works with your real life today. Not an aspirational one, not the one we wish we had, but the one that we have right here, right now, in this season. So let's dig in. Question number 1. Why do we crave New Year's resolutions? I've been thinking about this a lot lately because I'm like, why do we want a fresh start? Why do we crave? Like, is it cultural? Is it biological? Is it a combination of both? Well, first of all, there is neuroscience behind it. And our brains are actually wired to mark milestones. That's why when my friend turned 30, she was like, what am I doing with my life? And when my friend turned 40, he said, what am I doing with my life, right? And when we approach the new year, we say, what are we doing with our lives, all right? Research calls this temporal landmarks, and they give us a mental fresh start, a psychological distance from our past selves. It's why you feel different, like I said, on your birthday. It's why Monday feels like a new beginning. And that's why January 1st feels different than December 31st. So yeah, there is actually something biologically happening in our brains that make us feel like New Year's is a fresh start. But also, there's this cultural amplification, right? There is like this marketing, new year, right? And they've turned this personal moment into a billion-dollar industry. Add that in. This is like one time where collectively as a society, we're marking this landmark together, right? So there's like this collective excitement, this collective enthusiasm and motivation, right? We're all in this together. We're going to make this the best year yet. There's this feeling that we have collectively that doesn't happen any other time of the year, right? We don't have the same birthdays. We don't always celebrate the same holidays, but we always celebrate this new year together. So yes and no, there is a little bit of both, right? Yes, your brain genuinely experiences a fresh start. And no, the pressure to overhaul your entire life, well, that's manufactured by culture and marketing. All right. So that's kind of why we crave New Year's resolutions. There's a little bit of both. Okay. So question number 2 then. What's the issue with New Year's resolutions? Because we all know the stat. We've heard it a million times. By February, 80% of New Year's resolutions have failed. That's not a great statistic. And I'm kind of wondering about those last 20%. Like, what was the New Year's resolution and why did it work, right? Like, my questioning brain, I'm always asking questions. Like, what worked for that 1 in 5 people, right? But number 1, I think the reason there's an issue with New Year's resolutions, and this was huge for me when I figured it out, so I want you to listen to this part carefully. There's this aspirational happiness trap. I'll be so happy when. right? I'll be so happy when I lose 10 pounds. I'll be so happy when I run the marathon. I'll be so happy when I write the book. But what often happens is we develop New Year's resolutions for our aspirational self at the exclusion of our real life calendar, abilities, season of life that we're in, right? Like, we don't think about like, how is this actually going to fit into my life? I just am thinking about the happiness that I'm going to achieve when I achieve this result. But the problem with that is then when we don't achieve the New Year's resolution, we don't finish the marathon, we don't write the book, we don't do X, Y, or Z, we also, not only have we failed, and that makes us feel horrible about ourselves, we also feel like we're not happy because we didn't get that thing that we wanted. And I don't know about you, but I'm sure there's been a point in your life. I write about this in the book. When I was a little girl, I saved all my money for a pair of Adidas Samba shoes, right? I didn't even play soccer. I just wanted to wear them to school. It was middle school and they were popular. And isn't it funny? They're popular again now when my girls are in school. But I saved all my money because my mom said, unless you're playing soccer, you're not going to get a pair of soccer shoes. So I did. And I went with my pleather purse and my dad to the shoe carnival and I bought myself a pair of shoes. And about a week later, something else was in style, right? That idea that I'll be so happy when, right? There's things at play here. Like I'll be happy when I reach my aspirational lifestyle. But what happens is the finish line always moves. If you really stop and think about it, right? Like, I'll be so happy when I get this house. Well, then 5 years later, what do they say? 7 years later, you get the 7 year itch and I'm on to the next thing, right? And so I think that New Year's resolutions play into that because we're wanting to be happier in the new year. And I'll be so happy when that's what defines our New Year's resolution. So that's not I think that's number one issue with New Year's resolutions. Number two, I talked about this a little bit, but because we're designing them for our aspirational life, it doesn't fit into your current reality, right? The fantasy version of you doesn't live with 4 kids who, by the way, last year at the very beginning of the year, 3 of the 6 of you got pneumonia. Like life happens. There's going to be a snowstorm. There's going to be an ice storm. There's going to be a layoff. I mean, there's a million setbacks that could happen that we can't that we just when we're planning out these things, right? In between New Year's, Christmas and New Year's, when we're wearing elastic pants and there's a cookie tray 5 seconds away that we just don't think about. We don't think about the reality of like, is this going to work in my season of life? Okay, so I think that's issue number 2. Number 3, they rely heavily on motivation. And James Clear talks about this in his book, Atomic Habits. He says, we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. And what he's talking about in that part of the book is that we base a lot of our goals or our New Year's resolutions on how motivated we are in the moment. But unfortunately, motivation wanes. And we all know this because we've all felt this, right? We feel very motivated to run for a marathon. We download the app, then we go on the first run and we're like, never mind, not doing that, right? Like the motivation, that feeling is not going to carry you through completion to get this done. And that's not a you problem. That's that's like you just need to know this issue, right? Like that doesn't mean you don't have enough motivation. Nobody has enough motivation to get anything done, right? Like there is no amount of motivation in the world that is going to make you complete something if it's unrealistic in the time constraints that you have, the reality that you have. And all of this, in my opinion, and I think this has been huge for me to realize, and I hope as you're listening, it's helping you, is not only does it make me feel like a failure, like, oh, well, I just didn't have what it takes, right? And I just think, well, I'm going to wait till next year and I'll try again. Not only does it feel like that, I couldn't even do this. What's wrong with me? But our happiness takes a hit too. And that's a big bummer because there's good to be found. There's in the here and the now. Nothing is wrong with you. The system was broken from the start. You were trying to build a life for someone who doesn't exist, using motivation that was never meant to last. Okay? So, what can we do instead? And if you've been listening to the podcast for any length of time, you know the answer to this. It's a tiny tweak. Start small. And I know it's not fancy or glamorous or going to be like on this huge 2026 or 2027, whatever year it is, vision board. But hear me when I say, what if we started to tweak our life in a way that makes it easier, a little more joyful, a little better, tiny tweak by tiny tweak? Because, like I said, there is good in the here and the now. And here's what's different about this approach. You don't have to wait to arrive to be happy. And that's something that I talk about in my new book, Tiny Tweaks, Happy Life. I talk about happiness now. And I think what happens for a lot of us is that we're misled about happiness. So Dr. Arthur Brooks, who studies happiness at Harvard, talks about, he gave this analogy, which I love. He said, go to Manhattan. And you're thinking in your mind, when I say, I want you to go to Manhattan, you're probably thinking New York. But actually, I want you to go to Manhattan, Kansas. And if you don't know which Manhattan you're looking for, you might be going the wrong direction and not even know. And that's the thing about happiness. The world will tell you more money, more success, that finish line, completing that New Year's resolution. That's what's going to make you happy. Manhattan, New York. When actually, Manhattan, Kansas is what's going to make you happy. I mean, I don't know. I've never actually been to Manhattan, Kansas, but go with me, right? Like spending time with others and being outside in nature and all of these other things, right? I talk about what actually makes you happy in the book. But there's actually happiness in the here and the now. And yes, we want to improve, right? That's human nature. We want to improve. Growth is human. Healthy things grow. But we can also be happy in the journey, right? Just the other day, my husband and I were talking about something in our marriage, right? And I was like, "Oh, we're not there yet." And he goes, "We're never gonna get there," in quotation marks, ever this side of heaven. It's always a journey. And I think that that's the misnomer with New Year's resolutions, as we think this New Year's resolution is going to get me there, wherever there is. And I don't think anybody's ever found it, but so I want you to redefine happiness and goals, because your goals are going to support the life that you want. And we're going to tweak our way with goals to more of the life that we want, more of what matters. But we have to determine what matters, right? And really think about that. So what would actually make your life feel lighter, easier, and more joyful? What makes you happy on a daily basis? And what goals would help you to enjoy those things more? And then you're going to tweak your way to a life that you love. So let me give you an example. I always talk about my weekly plan notepad, right? I love my weekly plan notepad. It gets everybody on the same page. But one of the reason I do that is because I love spending time with my family. I love knowing where in my week I can spend time with my family. So I set out a goal to start sketching out my week every single week. And what happened was I realized I could be very intentional with the space that I had to be with my family or go on a walk or read a book or watch a movie, right? Like I knew that. That's the tiniest little thing that actually aligned and made my life more in alignment with what matters. And each small adjustment as you're making it is evidence that you're not stuck. And this is the other thing I love, right? Because we talked about before that when we fail at New Year's resolutions, there goes our happiness and there goes our confidence. And in a tiny tweak, it gives the opposite evidence, like, oh, I can make a change. I am growing more confident. It is like the snowball effect, right? A little bit, and then over time, it snowballs one after the other. I started to get healthy by going to my counselor. And I realized, I told her the other day, I said, Healthy habits beget healthy habits. As I got healthier with my mental health, I wanted to get healthy physically. And then this year I started to get like more healthy with what I was taking in nourishment wise. And I had to do a little bit of an anti-inflammatory diet for this year. But it was like one, I didn't do it all at once. It was little by little, but that confidence that I could make a change, I did see a change. Then I wanted to do another change. I mean, that's the beauty of starting small, one tiny tweak at a time. And that's realistic growth. Let me give you another smaller example. Last year, I decided that I wanted not to be looking at my phone right away in the morning and right before bed at night. First of all, because it made me go to bed later. So then I woke up tired. And then right away in the morning, it just felt like the world was shouting at me and the world was telling me how my day was going to go rather than me like allowing myself to like start the day with intention. Okay. So I made a tiny tweak. What's the smallest change I can make that's going to help with this? I charge my phone in the bathroom because honestly, it's right next door. I can hear it if it rings. If something's going on in the night, you know, a family member needs me, they can call me, although all of our family members keep their phones in the bathroom now. Um, but um, but I'm not likely to get up and get out of bed to go look at it. And I can finish my day reading. I go to bed on time. I get up in the morning. It's not the first thing I look at. I can kind of have my coffee, do my gratitude journal, kind of start my day with intention. Well, week 3, you realized you're sleeping better. You're going to bed on time. You're not feeling as anxious. Week 6, you notice more patience with your kids in the morning because you're not staring at the phone while you're making their breakfast, right? Like it's like a distraction. That's realistic growth, and that's the momentum we're after. And here's the other thing, happiness isn't waiting for some finish line. You're going to start to see things that bring you joy in the here and the now. And the moment you realize your moments are 5% easier, and the relief when you stop forcing yourself to do something that never fit your life anyway. You thought that that's what you should do because that's what people tell you to do that will make you happy, right? But is it actually going to make you happy? It's the space you create when you let go of guilt and start asking, what would help me? So, here are some questions I want you to ask yourself as we consider doing the new year a little bit differently. I want these could even be quote unquote New Year's resolutions, but they would be small, tiny ways to start the new year with intention. Number 1, what does my actual life look like right now? What season am I in? Not what I wish it looked like, but what does it actually look like? Where do I feel resistance or clunkiness in my normal day? Think of a normal weekday. Is there a part of your day where you're like, this just feels really clunky? What am I doing out of habit, guilt, or expectation that's really not helping me? Looking at your phone, doing something that your kids could be doing because you feel like only good moms do that, whatever it is, right? Like for years, I was like, I have to make them breakfast because that's what all the other moms are doing. And then one day I was like, they can actually make their own breakfast and it simplifies our life with 4 kids, right? Like these things, these expectations that we have for ourselves because we think, well, that's what good moms do, or that's what productive women do, right? What am I doing out of habit, guilt, or expectation that's really not helping me or serving me? And then what could make my day 5% easier? And what could I stop, move, delegate, or do less often to simplify my life? Again, sometimes the tiny tweak that we need in the new year is to let go of the expectations that we are holding ourselves to. I was just talking to a friend the other day and she said, well, I need to do this. And I just asked her, I said, well, why? And, she kind of stopped and I could tell. And she goes, well, because that's what good moms do. And I was like, but you're a good mom. Like we have these expectations of ourselves that we think this is what I have to do. But is it? sometimes having a shift in perspective. And sometimes we can't see it for ourselves. And so this is where I love inviting a friend, maybe take a friend to coffee. You guys could do this for each other in the new year, maybe your spouse, go out on a walk around the block and ask yourselves these questions because oftentimes what happens is we cannot always see the forest through the trees. We are so close to our own life. Sometimes we just can't see it. And I always use the analogy. It's like somebody, you're bumping around in a dark room and you're like trying to find the exit. You're like, oh, I know there's an exit. I know there's a solution here. And your friend comes along and turns on the flashlight and like that, you find the exit, right? It's because you just can't see it for yourselves. And that's just human nature, right? So inviting somebody in and saying, like, okay, help me problem solve this. Um, and maybe they'll have a tiny tweak, or maybe they'll ask you a question, or maybe they'll have an idea. Maybe it won't be the exact tweak or resolution you need, but it'll give you an idea for the next step or spark an idea for you. And then I want you to pick one thing, one of those friction points, not all of them, just one. And I know you're saying to me, but I have a million friction points. My life is a mess. Our life, like we need all of and here's the thing. I tell you all the time on the podcast, you don't need a life overhaul. You just need one tiny tweak. And when you feel like your life is a mess, that's when you especially need to start small because you do not have the bandwidth for anything more. And I promise you, you're going to fall into that cycle of big solution, big failure, and it's not your fault. We just need to do it a little bit differently and to give ourselves grace to start small and to start somewhere and to start messy, right? Like life is messy. Somewhere along the way, we thought as adults that when we do something, we need to do it well because we are adults and we do everything with efficacy and just right. But you know what? That's the beauty of a tiny tweak too. And I tell my kids this all the time. If it doesn't work out, well, then you can try something different the next day. And it's not that much extra effort out of your day. Okay, so where do you start? We're to the final question. And here's the truth. You probably already know. There's something in your day that's been bugging you, something you keep thinking, I wish this was easier. And if you're not sure listening right now, take the next 24 hours and pay attention. Our mind, like it's a red car syndrome, right? Like I always talk about this, is like you never realized that everybody else drove a red car until you drove a red car because our brain filters out what it doesn't think is important and it focuses on what it is. So tell your brain over the next 24 hours what is difficult, what feels clunky in my day. I want you to pay attention. And then I want you to ask yourself, what is a tiny tweak that I can make right now? And again, if you're not sure, ask a friend, ask a spouse. Like I said, I changed my phone to the nightstand. Just this morning, my son and I were talking about getting out of the house on time because he's 8 and he tends to not always use his time wisely and he knows what he needs to do, but sometimes he just loses track. And so we said, you know what? I'm going to set out a timer, a visual reminder for him. I got a timer on my phone. I'll just put it out. I'm not using it anyway to look on social media. And he can watch that timer, or you could put it on your, like an Alexa show or something. And so he can see the time, so he can be aware and use his time more wisely. Tiny tweak. Okay. Maybe for you, it's the pile of the shoes by the back door. Maybe you need to just move your shoes by the back door because it's taking your kids 15 minutes to get down the stairs with their shoes. Maybe the breakfast routine feels chaotic. Could you set out what you're having the night before, or could you leave your phone in the bathroom? The evening wind down that actually doesn't help you wind down. Could you set an alarm so that you know when your kids need to go to bed? And it's like Pavlov's dog. They hear the alarm. It's not mom barking at them. It's just the alarm that's like, okay, you need to go brush your teeth. The laundry that never seems to get put away. Like maybe it's you just put it in a basket and you send it with your kids. And if it sits in a laundry basket in their bedroom, well, then that expectation is fine. It's clean and well, they can live like that. Speaking from experience. But pick one tiny tweak that you want to start with, and that is your first step in the new year. Not a total overhaul, Not a big New Year's resolution, not a new system, just one tiny tweak. Could you move something, stop doing something, do it less often, and ask for help? Try it for 1 week, maybe even one day. Oftentimes we know, like, is this tweak going to help me? But try it for a week. Not a month, not forever, and see what happens. If it helps, keep it. If it doesn't, try something else. We're iterating. We're just tiny tweaking our way to a life that works for us. You're not committing to a lifetime change. You're just testing what works for you. And what you'll notice is, and what I've seen happen again and again, is that one change, like I said, gives you evidence that you're not stuck, that you can make things better, that you don't need permission or perfection to start. And that evidence, that's where lasting, real change starts. And if you want more support and you're thinking, I want more of this, well, I wrote an entire book about tiny tweaking your way to a happy life. It's called Tiny Tweaks Happy Life, and it launches on January 27th. It's filled with encouragement and practical help to determine what makes you happy. Like I said, I spend the first section talking about what actually makes you happy and helping you define it on a daily basis, helping you be brave enough to start by flexing your fear muscle and then iterate in all of the spaces to make space for what matters. You can find it at Target. If you have a red card, you can get your 5% off. You can find it on Amazon or anywhere books are sold. I get this question all the time. What's the best place for you as an author? And I've already been paid. So wherever works best for you, pre-ordering makes the biggest impact on me as a new author. So wherever you like to do it, it's also available on Kindle and audiobook, if that's easier for you as well. I've linked the link in the show notes to make sure you pre-order today. But here's the permission I want to give you as we go into a new year. If you've been telling yourself you just need to try harder, I want you to remember a different truth. You don't need more willpower. You need a kinder starting point. The same life, the same you, just one tiny tweak. And I promise it counts. It matters, and it's enough. You're not broken, you're not behind, and you're not failing. You're just trying to build a life that works for someone else, that aspirational you, the one you think will be happier if, instead of building one that works for you right now. So let's do the new year differently together. One tiny tweak at a time. No overhaul required, no shame, and no pressure. Thanks for being here every single week. I'm cheering you on as the internet big sister you never asked for and Tiny Tweaks Queen. Let's make the new year feel lighter and happier together. Happy New Year. If you liked this episode, it would mean so much if you'd share it with a friend or leave a quick rating and review so others can find our show. Until next time, you can find me at Simple Purposeful Living on Instagram and Facebook.